Everybody, thanks for coming. Another good group. Wow. I mean, this is a tremendous turnout. The first group was even larger than this, but I mean, that's pretty significant. I just touched on a few things with the first group about the questions people had about Tier 6. I assumed that your biggest question would be, since there probably are no Tier 6s in the room, that how is it going to be funded? Because that was the big question, right? Like Social Security, at one time you could retire at 62 and collect Social Security, now you have to be 67, because as we live longer and grew older, less people are putting into it, and more people are taking out of it. So that age is going up. And that was our biggest fear with the Tier 6. The original one proposed by Governor Cuomo was basically, and Tom DiNapoli, the state controller, said it won't work because who's going to fund the current workers when they retire? Who's going to fund you? So they modified that quite a bit. And there's still contributions going in there, sometimes just by the employee, and sometimes, depending on your salary scale, by both. Bottom line is, you are under what's known as a defined benefit, defined pension benefit, non-contribution. Your pension is guaranteed by the state of New York, okay? Every dollar. We are actually overfunded in our pension. We are funded at 108%. And a lot of localities, especially Nassau County, said, you're overfunded. Why not give us a break this year? Because I think Nassau County's pension bill this year was $56 million, which is tremendous. But DiNapoli, as the controller, said, no, we're going to maintain the 108% because that's how the reason it's at 108%, believe it or not, it's set up for if this scenario happens. Every single public worker in the state of New York retired today, there'd be enough money in there for all of us, okay? That's how it's actually set up. And it's been like that for decades. When Wall Street was making tons of money in the 90s and the early 2000s, pre-Lehman Brothers and Madoff and Bear Stearns and everything, our benefits was funded 80 to 85% through investments, not through us or not through the localities. That's when they should have been putting money on the side, and a few governments did do that, but not our government, because they spent the money. Then when, of course, the sun went away and the clouds came out, and it was a hurricane, they were all crying, we don't have money, we can't afford these public workers anymore. Their pensions are too costly. Of course, we didn't cause it. It was the greedy Wall Street bankers and mortgage brokers and people that sold subprime mortgages to those that couldn't afford it by the thousands a day. And eventually the whole system crashed. And the only ones left standing is the public workers. Because we're the ones that took this job, not for the salary, but for the job security, for the pension, and for the benefits. And you sacrificed, and most of us, sacrificed what you could have made in the private sector. I know that's why I took the job. I had, at the time I took the job, I had 2 children, 1 on the way, and I was in the restaurant business. And I said, I can't live like this anymore. I might not make as much money, but I need to know that someday I can retire, have a pension, and I need health benefits for my kids. So I took a significant pay cut and did my time here in order to get what we all thought we would get as government workers, job security, which we see that in the last 2 laws here in Nassau County. The college has not been bad, but we still lost 300 folks at the other side of the county, which, by the way, we were able to get 100 of them back out of the 300. And each and every one of those 100 was a fight. It was a struggle. It wasn't like they gave it to us. We had a battle. And we're still battling to get, we still want to get more people back to work. So, I thought the Tier 6 issue would be more about, you know, how is it going to be funded? But then there were some other questions that popped up in the last meeting. A lot of it had to do with civil service. And, you know, about promotional exams and stuff. I'm not really a civil service expert. Civil service is, like I explained to the last group, it was built and designed allegedly years and years ago to keep politics out of the job fair. Well, we know how well that's worked. There's really no gray area with civil service. It's black or white. And you either, like so many times we see instances where we say, well, that's a stupid thing to do. It would be so much better if we did it this way. And civil service will say, you're right, but that's not the way the law reads. We got to do it this way. And we talked about preferred lists, and we talked about people that got laid off in the county, would they be eligible on these lists? And really, no, there's no commingling of those. Although we're going to get back to Denise on these issues, we're going to call Carl Camp and find out the exact answer so I can give direct answers to the civil service questions. Now, maybe this group has a different set of concerns that I certainly would be happy to speak to you about. You know, in comparison to the rest of the county, this is my one unit, and you know, Juan Guerreri's our executive vice president. You know, I'm the president, he's right behind me, executive vice president, and I have our senior labor relations specialist, Rigo. Rigo's the chief negotiator. He is the guy that helped us negotiate the contract that you're now living under. And the good news is that
Will you be here for the next one?
well,
Then we're gonna really need them.
well, we're going to need 2015. We're going to need some serious help. We got some tough negotiations. I can tell you this much though. Look, regardless if you work here or if you work anywhere else in the county, I have promised that our current workers will not lose their fully paid health benefits while I was president and while we were under this contract. And what they did to me and they did to our union was said, in order for you to avoid the layoffs from the county, you would have to give us 25% health care contributions for your current members, take a permanent 20% pay cut, and stay frozen in steps and wages for 4 years. That would equal $62 million. So that was the only choice we had. People didn't understand. I was trying to explain to them. I think I want to see anybody lose their jobs. I really took that to heart. It still haunts me that we still have 200 people out of work. And each and every layoff, it was horrible. You know, we met with them all, and I met with 2 folks today that were laid off illegally, and we're trying to do what we can for them. And one lady, she couldn't afford the 96-year-old mother lives with her, couldn't afford to pay for heat, ran out of heat. I've talked to people that are in foreclosure now, people that are months behind on their mortgage, they can't afford car insurance. They did nothing wrong. They did nothing wrong. They just took a job like we did, and because of the bad deeds done by the greedy Wall Streeters back in 2007 and 8, they're paying the price, and that's what's happening. Fortunately, this group here, because of the way this budget is funded, and this is the only reason why, it's not because Mr. Lugano likes you better than you are tri-funded, tripartite funded, right? You have the state, you have tuition, and the county. And because of that formula, I believe, and this is what I was told, that NIFA and the county could not figure out how to legally freeze anything because it would affect the other 2/3 of the budget. So if you take from 1/3, who's making it up? You're not going to raise tuition, and the state's not giving us any more money. So the bottom line is, luckily we, here at the college, were able to avoid that. The problem I face inherently as the president of the entire local is that if NIFA stays here till 2015 as promised, a clerk 1, I'm just using that as a title, anybody really, but a clerk 1 working at the college will probably make about 22% more than a clerk 1 working for the county. And that's a lot, 22%. Now, we're in federal court already with NIFA. We probably will not do well in round 1. Round 2 is what happens when they leave. And we argue that everyone goes to where they should have been. Had they not been here, then they will catch up to you in overnight. NIPER is saying, however, no, they just pick up where they left off when we first came in. If that's true, that it's gonna be a significant amount of money that Nassau will not have to pay and our members will lose. We have members stuck right now for 2 years now, right before top pay or in that opening, remember that A, B? That's the ridiculous amount of money. Well, they're stuck in those steps too. So hopefully we're working, me and my team, we're working diligently and hard to try to save some more jobs, and as we're doing that, to get NIPER the hell out of here. Because we need them to get out. As for the college, I've spoken to President Astrab a few times. I find him somebody he's easily approachable. He returns phone calls. So far, I found him to be creditable. I don't know if that's the same impression you get. I don't work here, but as a union leader, I find him to be, as in comparison to some of the other department heads, someone that I don't mind calling, because he seems to respect the union, and then he'll get back and he'll try to work with us.
Jerry, I agree with you, and he does respect the union very much. I've had many meetings with him where you're 100% right.
Thank you, but I think the problem is, not all of his minions feel the same way. I think that's the problem I'm learning, that he has one ideology and one way of going, but those that surround him may not feel the same way. And I think that's why you have some division here.
Oh, there's a lot of division.
There's a lot of division, and I think it's caused by some of the people that were old school here, that were leftovers and don't want to leave, and they infected some of the newer administrators. So that's a problem that I've brought to his attention, actually. And we're working on it. We're working on getting a kinder, friendlier administration. And but I think the president himself, speaking to him, his ideology, the way he speaks, and the way he represents the relationship between his staff and him is fairly decent compared to other areas I work with. So I'm going to take questions now. I'm sure somebody must have a few questions for me, right? Anybody got any concerns or questions about what's going on, where we stand? There's a good group, huh? Everybody's
That was the last one.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, with all these layoffs that our union had in the county, what about like administrative positions over in the county, ungraded, I don't know what you call them?
Yeah,
Were they
well, they're
affected
called
by-
ordinance, at will.
Okay, were they affected by
They
the
were
layoffs?
6. They had 6 layoffs, ordinances.
As compared to the
300.
300, okay.
But we've all read about, the fact that we worked let me tell you, this union did something never seen before in our history. In the last election, this union collated, and we were in a coalition with other unions, and we were very effective in really getting feet on the ground. For the first time, our political action was more than just a postcard. And we made a tremendous difference. You have to realize, and I'm not going to get into politics here, but there was one side that was treating us better than the other side. Let's leave it at that. We knew we wanted to make a change in the legislature in Nassau County, especially with the Republican county executive. We came within 51 swing votes of doing that. That was because of a tremendous effort by our union and the other unions together. So, although we may not have the money, you might have read Newsday the other day where the PBA is handing out $500,000 worth of political action funds. Well, we don't operate that way in CSEA. Our dues go to Albany, and then it trickles back down. It's the Reagan economic, the trickle-down theory. So what happens is Albany gets our dues, and then the region gets a portion of that, and then the local trickles down to our level, and then we trickle down to the unit levels. So at the end of the day, most of the money's in Albany, okay? And we are not allowed to, as a local, spend 1 penny on political action, not a dime. So people say, well, why don't you run, an ad in the paper saying, well, we're not allowed to, by law. We're not a registered PAC. We're not a registered political action committee. But what we have that the other unions don't have is numbers. And we met with all our retirees in the last election. We went to 4 retirees there. They're all local for retirees. We went to 4 retiree local meetings. And I'd say we were very effective. And we got their attention in Post Avenue. They were very nervous about it. They're nervous about who we plan on endorsing in the next election, definitely in 2 years. We may not stuff the envelopes, but envelopes don't vote. People do. And we proved that we are way more effective with our bodies than any other union can be, no matter how much money they have. So remember that, because we're going to probably call on you in 2 years to help make a difference. I don't know what we're doing yet, but understand we are going to be the difference in that election. There's no doubt about it. Okay. Yes, there's been some chatter, not a lot, for the first time since I've been in office, of now that Tier 6 has been approved. It was modified a lot, like I told you in the beginning, but now that Tier 6 has been approved, there's been some small talk in Albany for the first time of possibly this fall having a statewide incentive. That's good. A statewide incentive adds years of service. Unlike the county one that we always did, you had to qualify on your own. And then if you qualified, you were given $1,000 for every year of service. If there's a statewide incentive, if you're short 2 years, I think you get a month for every year, right?
Usually, yeah.
1 month for every year. So if you got 25 years and, you need a couple, you might be able to qualify for a full retirement. I'm hoping they do that. We always like incentives, because incentives mean people get to leave on their own terms, when they can afford to leave, when they're ready to leave, not those poor folks that are sitting home trying to pay their oil bill and looking for work in an economy that there are no jobs in. So yeah, that's a good point. I saw somebody's hand. Yes, ma'am.
Of the 100 people who were called back to work, where was the money coming from to pay them?
Well, I'll tell you, as long as you promise not to tell anybody else. Because what happened was, this board named NIFA? NIFA said that CSEA, NIFA wanted $150 million in concessions from all of labor. That's a lot of money. That's more than some counties' budgets. They want $150 million just from labor. Out of the $150 million, based on the size of the total payroll, $62 million of that was supposed to come from CSEA. The only way we could come up with $62 million was, like I think I told you already, every member would have to pay 25% into their health benefits, would take a permanent 20% pay cut, and stay frozen for 4 more years. That would equal $62 million, or get laid off. Well, there really wasn't an option there, right? You're making $40,000 a year. A 20% pay cut brings you down to $32,000. $4,500 for 25% of the help. Now the guy's making $28,000. How the hell could we do that? We couldn't. They knew it when they demanded it. So our only option was the layoff option. So after Mangano did his layoffs, he realized he cannot lay anybody else off. Social services can barely function over there. We started making noise about children protective services, adult protective services, child enforcement division, where deadbeat dads aren't even paying. The county's so stupid, they're losing money. And the best part about it was 83% of their salaries were grant funded. So it was really, really just dumb economics, whatever. But it satisfied NIFA because there was pain. And NIFA wanted to see some pain by labor. So they got their pain. But with every time, to answer your question, I'm long-winded, but to answer your question is, the money is coming from the general fund. So I have to kind of keep that low key, because we didn't, according to NIFA, we fell short of the $62 million to begin with. So with every member we bring back, we're that much short. However, we have a county to run. How would you like to call 911 and get a busy signal? And that's happened, by the way. Actually, but your call is very important to us. Please stay on the line. You're not, meanwhile, you're in the closet and you're getting, your house is being, I mean, the amount of taxes that we pay in this county, it's embarrassing. They should be embarrassed of the level of services that we're providing. And we did our own study, and we put this on TV many times, and I'll tell you, this is an astounding number. You take the average $10,000 tax bill for a property tax bill. On that $10,000 tax bill, if you fired every single CSEA worker, including you, by the way, everybody, okay? No longer pay their salaries, their pensions, or their benefits. And you have no services now other than cops and corrections. We'd be done. That $10,000 tax bill would be $9,700.
Yeah, that's it.
It cost the county, it cost that homeowner $300 a year for the hundreds of services we provide. But Mangano